Hello, hello. It's good to be back. It's good to be back. I'm Joe.
I'm Tom.
And we're going to talk about something near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
It's Oasis's What's the Story Morning Glory, a album that is pretty much tattooed on my soul. It is my favorite album just pretty much by default, because whatever your favorite album is when you're 16 is pretty much your favorite album.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's how it works.
I think that's how it works, yeah. That's generally how it works. Yes, this is going to be a big one. You will recall, if you have been a long-time listener, we basically kicked off this entire concept of anniversary episodes with the album that would follow this. And if this is sort of like, if Be Here Now is that sort of old maxim of if you want to understand a man, give him power, this is how Oasis got that power.
Yes. And it's surprisingly a little flat of a story. I mean, it doesn't have a lot of the, drama and, noise and whatever else you have in the recording of Be Here Now.
Drugs mostly, I think, if I remember
correctly.
Drugs
mostly, yes. Cocaine. Lots of cocaine.
Mountains
Scarface
of cocaine.
amounts of cocaine.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So,
this is, yeah.
They just, literally, they did this in less than 3 weeks. They said 12 working days.
Mm-hmm.
And there were not a lot of issues from what I understand. That early on, Liam brought some people from the town into the studio, and they were all bonkers drunk. And
yep. It was Wales. They were recording this in... Yeah, Wales, they were recording this in the middle of Wales.
Yes.
So kind of we need to go back a bit, because obviously who are Oasis? Oasis are on tour again, by the way, just sort of like keeping this current. Yeah, they are currently doing their first leg of their extremely lucrative world tour.
Yes, and they are a band most assume is just Liam and Noel Gallagher, two brothers who have kind of hated each other over the years, and was the reason the band exploded after their last album, because their rivalry with each other had just gotten way too out of hand, and they just both, Noel Gallagher went to his, quote-unquote group High Flying Birds, which is just pretty much, just whoever Noel Gallagher has kicking around and knows a favor or something. And then Liam Gallagher had BDI for a little bit, and then he had his solo career, which, judging from his Twitter account, was a little unhinged. I mean, the songs were the songs were about mostly 5 out of 10, but on Twitter
you could kind of understand.
He was unstable.
Yeah. You can kind of understand why the Gallaghers work best as a unit. They do sort of balance out each other's worst habits in terms of songwriting, and probably exacerbate each other's other bad habits, frankly. Because there were, as we said last time when we talked about Be Here Now, an argument between Oasis, Noel and Liam was sort of so interested in the public eye. It's charted as a single and is the highest charting interview single of all time ever in any country.
Yes.
The infamous Wibbling rivalry. But this is sort of getting ahead of ourselves. So we need to go back to the halcyon period of the 1990s, the sort of early 90s, where Oasis are just a very, a popular indie band. They're not the sort of world-conquering force, because they basically made an album called Definitely Maybe, and Definitely Maybe basically appeared out of nowhere, is one of the highest selling debut albums of all time, and kind of this band came from nothing to be tremendously popular on both sides of the Atlantic.
Yeah. It not so much. Definitely, maybe. What's the Story? Morning Glory definitely smashed over here because I don't remember hearing anything on their first album in the middle of Nebraska. Granted, this is the middle of Nebraska. This isn't New York City. This isn't some cultural touchstone. But like, What's the Story? Morning Glory is the one that people remember here. They remember Wonderwall, and they remember Champagne Supernova, and they have all the jokes and memes for those songs. But if you're tasked with, like, you know, talking to American about their other songs, they might remember So Sally Can Wait, which is not the name of the song. It's called Don't Look Back in Anger. Marked in Napster as So Sally Can Wait, so people can find it, if I remember correctly.
That's an era. Yeah, I mean, you say that, and definitely maybe sold over 1 million copies in the US. So I mean,
okay,
yeah. Apparently, this is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the certification, and the certification is, I don't know if this is like in hindsight, but it definitely did well. And then Oasis sort of like basically did an American tour, and everything went a bit weird.
Well,
I think is the
best. Some people in Los Angeles introduced the Gallagher brothers to crystal meth, and their concert after that didn't go well.
Yeah, it was like there's footage of this, as we did with, like, this is treading obviously over familiar ground with, you know, the Be Here Now episode. The Gallaghers and drugs is like the drugs are like the third Gallagher brother. There's sort of like I think obviously nowadays that Noel is sort of clean, Liam's drug taking is. And you know, obviously there are other YouTubers who you can listen to and sort of, you know, go, yes, there is a lot of in detail stuff which, you know, people who know Oasis a lot better than I do, sort of, basically.
Yeah, the James Hargreaves of the world, of which, you know, I watched some of his documentaries, some of his stuff. That will be coming. Like, to tell you where the band is at this point is that they did a concert at Riverside, and they didn't have any security at the time. They didn't have much of anything, and this was Newcastle, so apparently Newcastle was really rough at the time, and somebody just ran up from the crowd, punched Liam in the face, and was going after Noel, and, you know, and instead of, you know, running away and getting out, they stood up to the guy, and apparently Noel needed stitches, and they really needed to get out of there and stop the gig. And the people in Newcastle were not having it, and they had to drive their van out of the alley into the front of the venue, and they got bricks thrown at them. Thankfully, their windows were somewhat secured. And according to some sources, they ran over somebody's limb as they were speeding off after they'd gotten around them.
Yeah, the sort of the obviously, you know, the music press still loves the Gallaghers because they are outspoken and they don't really, you know, they're of a sort of a level of fame where they don't really care. Like, during the Battle of Britpop, which obviously kind of this forms the vanguard of, because it's like, you know, that basically one of the tracks from this, obviously we'll come on to speak about, kind of was the Oasis horse in the Oasis versus Blur battle. And you know Noel Gallagher was saying stuff like he hopes the members of Blur would, quote, catch AIDS and die, which is sort of like, this is like the 90s. And you know, the best description of what Oasis are at this point is hedonistic.
Yes.
Yeah, they are mired in drugs. the brothers are like fighting continuously, and this all sort of comes to a fore in kind of the incident where Liam sort of heckles American audiences. I don't genuinely know what he actually said about American audiences, and then hit Noel with a tambourine. Noel leaves the band.
Yes. And this is America. They split up, and then they start like.
Yeah.
Noel's like, okay, I'm gone for good, and blah blah blah, and then but he's still writing songs and he's still doing all of this. He's just in Vegas, or
yeah, so. He's in San Francisco or whatever. You know, as I said, the videos by this has been well documented, and there's like YouTubers who are going to far greater detail, and the theorization of and sort of how this is affected, and how much of What's the Story Morning Glory was influenced and affected by this sort of this experience. Yeah, I mean, by this point Oasis are like big, and this is sort of where they get bigger. I think it's sort of like
this is where they become gigantic. Like what was it? Upside Down, the Creation Records story. This is where when they start being able to print money and essentially bring multiple cases of hard liquor into the office every day. And I know I've said this story where there's just an intern cowering in the corner just saying, I want to go home, I want to go home. And that's when Creation Records gets infected with the Gallagher virus.
It gets to a point where it's like the last days of whatever, and it's drug fueled chaos. What also the sort of interesting thing, the sort of obviously we didn't talk about much in the Be Here Now episode, is they were also kind of basically the vanguard for New Labour's political flirtation with rock music and the whole sort of Cool Britannia vibe. Which obviously was Alan McGee was basically ferrying Noel Gallagher around number 10. Noel cannot remember any of this because apparently he was high on drugs, which is unsurprising, and apparently threw up in the Queen's toilet or something, God knows. Anyway, that's years in the future. This is sort of we're not really considering ourselves, but go listen to our Be Here Now episode if you want the sort of end of Scarface level hedonism of Oasis. This is Oasis at this point in the sort of 1994 to sort of early 1995 are at least more together, and as a result make this.
Yes, and we have to talk about the stories around it, because the stories in it aren't really very interesting. You get all of these stories and they're in the liner notes, they're in documentaries, but then you get to Be Here Now and there's one paragraph or two paragraphs per song. And it's kind of we did that. We did one take of this, and they said, oh, that's good. And you want to take another one? And it's why not?
No.
And so we did another one. So we did that in 2 takes, knocked it out. And that's kind of the story. And the only other little stories are just who came up with Sally for Don't Look Back in Anger, and Liam says Liam did, but Noel admits that as much, but they both have different stories about how Liam did it. Liam was just full on, just oh yeah, I came up with that was mine, that's mine, even though I don't get. And then Noel's I misheard something. You're not getting songwriting credit on that.
It's most of even the friction between the brothers is fairly low key at this. I mean, Owen Morris, who co-produced this with Noel Gallagher, basically describes this as the sessions were the best, easiest, least fraught, most happily creative time I've ever had in a recording studio. Which, considering your company is these two dysfunctional individuals, shall we say, is kind of saying a lot. I mean, the only, considering like the absolute cast of celebrities we were talking about last time, the only sort of major figure that sort of rolls up in the background for this is Paul Weller of the Jam, in who sort of plays on a couple of tracks, and it's like, yeah, that makes sense. That's, you know, Paul Weller being on this record, fair enough. That is an influence on Oasis, and Paul Weller being here makes sense. Yeah, cool.
Yep, he's on a few songs, and he's the background, most notably the background vocals of Champagne Supernova.
Yeah.
And also, it should be noted they had a change of drummer. There was Tony McCarroll, who was the original drummer for Definitely Maybe, and they didn't like him. He
just got
felt
the boot.
He was like off, like he did not have any kind of rhythm during Definitely Maybe. And as a failed percussionist who cannot keep 4/4 times, I can hear it. I can hear like there's something slightly off about the drums and Definitely Maybe. And
yeah,
like
it's like
I
comparing.
don't have any other skills for it, but I do have the ears when it's off rhythm just ever so slightly.
Yeah, definitely. It's that same sort of vibe as, like, you know, and I think it's actually a fairly uncontroversial sort of comparison to go, you know, Nirvana's Bleach and Nirvana's Nevermind. It's like, yeah, this Nirvana's Bleach, good indie record. Nirvana's Nevermind fucking changed music.
And instead they brought in Alan White, and he hadn't even met most of the band when they started recording, but they just apparently started knocking it out, even though they were like Manchester and he was Cockney, and they just boom. Like most of this is just like they did a song a day, and they would just get up, record parts, or just like according to like the What's the Story, Morning Glory Revisit documentary, Noel would like just do his own acoustic rendering and like lay out how the song would go, and so they would play that back, and then they would put stuff in for the rest of the day or however else when it was being produced.
And Noel, this is sort of like Noel's songwriting really does come of age on this record. I mean, there's like comments by other members of the band, like, we listened to this in like really simple demo, and like there's a thing, I think it's from either Bonehead, who is the band's guitarist, or Grigsby, who was sort of the band's bassist. Bonehead has returned to play guitars on their most recent tour. Basically said, Noel sat down, played through half of the album, and I literally could not stop crying, because it was like, holy shit, this is like the, you know, I mean, we'll get to sort of obviously the sequencing of this, but this is just immaculately sequenced as a record.
Which is really interesting, because they did stupid things like, for Wonderwall, they recorded it at a wall on the facility.
Oh. Yeah, it's some very strange decisions.
Yeah, that's they've had drugs in their system, and they just, okay, let's do this. And then Noel Gallagher will just yell at music video directors for having the same kind of stuff. Like in one of the Definitely Maybe videos, it's just like the music video director says, well, let's bury the drum kit. And then he goes, no, let's bury the drummer. And yeah, that's great. And he like heckles that kind of thing. But here they are, recording Wonderwall literally by a wall, which apparently worked out because there's the birds chirping and all of that. And, Wonderwall is a great song, and you would never know they just like slapped tens of thousands of sound equipment to a wall in the wind and just recorded it.
Fine. Yeah. As I said, we'll get to the sort of the tracks, but this was rattled out at a fair rate. I mean, Morris says it was basically a track a day. It was like basically worked on a song a day. The only songs they had a couple of problem with was apparently Some Might Say, and fair enough. Shall we just get started with this, because this is like
Sure.
This is okay. First off, that album cover fucking iconic. Just like very, if the Oasis album definitely maybe is a great cover. Be Here Now is what you do when you are a band who go, oh, let's just go around the world and have photographs taken of each other. We drive a Rolls Royce into a swimming pool and sort of like do whatever the flip we want. And definitely maybe is basically a small a front room or something. It's the sort of the weird sort of middle stage of this where you go, here's two guys walking down a street in like it's in London. It's Berwick Street in London in Soho. I have regularly walked down this street, and it's like it's just there. It's in the basically the street is still very much as it was with changes of shops. It's recognisable. It's one of these sort of places you can probably go around in London on like some rock and roll tour, and like you can see the place, the loading bay where obviously the front cover of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders of Mars was recorded in this, etc, etc, etc. It's urban. It's very understated. It is iconic.
Yes, and Noel apparently hated it because he wanted something big, because we're going to play this big band, Know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
according to this,
yeah, he didn't see like the vision of that at the time, but he obviously he came around to it after the tank loads of money he has been given for it. Yeah.
The two men on the front, by the way, are DJ Sean Rowley and Brian Cannon, who is the guy who did a lot of Oasis's, visual stuff. Funny story about funny story about this. It cost apparently £250,000 to produce. Noel didn't like it, and Noel, in a documentary about the record label company Hypnosis, who is sort of obviously the guys who did a lot of the Pink Floyd covers, Noel said, long after the album's release, he recalls asking, who okayed that cover? You did. It's...
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the big thing was Noel and Liam were supposed to be in the two people in that guys. Cover, and
that makes a lot of sense.
That didn't happen for whatever reason. I imagine it's because they couldn't bring them. It was in the morning, and they couldn't be arsed to get up after late nights of drugs and partying.
Yeah. That would strike me. That would not surprise me. Is that even the dress sense is sort of Noel and Liam-ish. It's like
yes, absolutely.
That was obviously Noel. Yeah, that's Noel and Liam. So that's kind of the cover, and it's so simple, and it's like there is a spot on Google Maps saying, stand here, take your photograph, fine, here's the cover of What's the Story Morning Glory with you in it. Fantastic. Also, the building right on the left hand side of it is still a record store, and they absolutely capitalize on being the record store on the front cover of What's the Story Morning Glory. And there is so
being
much
there
Oasis
now.
Stuff. Being there now, and that is the cover. They have a lot of Oasis stuff. Shall we begin with the first track, which is Hello.
Hello. If there was ever a perfect opening track to anything, and even Noel will just like, it's just a great opener. It's just you say hello.
Hello. Yes. So Hello begins obviously, and this is sort of the absolute cocksure ambition of What's the Story Morning Glory, is it begins with about 10 seconds very, very low down in the mix of Wonderwall. It's like, we know this is going to be huge.
Yeah, we are putting a foreshadowing to one of our biggest songs, if not our biggest song. Depending on which country you're in, because Live Forever is kind of the eternal Oasis song in Great Britain, and Wonderwall is kind of the one in America.
And every party you've ever been to. Hello, samples, by the way. Hello, Hello by Gary Glitter. This is the same song, ironically, that Hello, Good to Be Back by Scooter also samples, because apparently just like every Hello song sort of just, but it's sort of like it's the sort of same. I'm gonna pay Oasis quite a thing, and they probably quite find this quite funny. It has the sort of same vibe to me as the sort of the opening of Sergeant Pepper's. It's a welcoming song. It's like, hello, this is what we sound like. This is like, you know, our vibe for the rest of the record. Here's like a little smidgen of something we might be playing you later. You know, this is the welcoming song. You know, it's like, hello.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot remember any of the lyrics on this apart from hello.
Yeah, well, I remember all the lyrics, but here's what Noel Gallagher had to say about it. I always promised myself I would change that bit, and he's referring to the Gary Glitter thing. But it just fucking wouldn't go away. So in the end, I said, fuck it. Must be part of the song because I can't get rid of it. And that would be a lot of things in this album. You don't quite notice it until Be Here Now, because as I said about that one, like when you get that long of an album, you start to understand the weaknesses of a band or a person's songwriting. And the biggest thing that the British press picked up on in this album that they would apparently not get, because they were all caught flat-footed when Oasis became the biggest thing in the world. They were lukewarm on this one, just saying that the lyric making was kind of subpar and lazy, because a lot of the times they would have the second verse just be the same as the first verse, except they would change a tense, maybe if they thought about it. I said maybe, but
maybe
anyway.
Yeah. Yeah,
but then they just said fucked off, it's fine. And that's a lot of it. You don't notice it because this is a very quick album. It's about 40 some minutes.
Yeah, 50 minutes exactly, apparently.
50 minutes exactly. Okay. We
do need to talk about something very, very briefly. This album kind of started something in terms of mastering of records. I'm going to get a little bit music nerdy. This is what happened. This is basically the opening shot in the loudness war, when basically every, compression, and we end up with, things like Saint Anger and, Death Magnetic, where it's just like so compressed and so loud. And the implication, I think, that obviously this is something I think that Gallagher's and to a certain extent Morris has sort of said in the past, is they basically mixed the album in a very simple way so you could hear it clearly and over the sort of pound of people talking in pubs. It's basically it's sort of the location in which you might best find Oasis. It's like, oh yeah, it cuts through the sound. It's actually a very loudly mixed album. It kind of then went a little bit too far when Iggy Pop, a man who had been standing next to loud sound equipment for the last 30 years, decided to remix Raw Power, which is just noise. It's just if you've ever heard the Iggy Pop remaster of Raw Power, which I think is 1995, because obviously he didn't like the Bowie mix, it's like being hit in the face with a brick.
Yeah, it's weird because they get called, Oasis gets called Britpop, but they are a rock and roll band, and it doesn't come off as loud when you're listening to it. And it isn't until you get to Be Here Now and you're analyzing it, of the layers and stuff, and it's just like, holy shit, this is a lot, and there is
too much going on it. Too much going on.
It's a joke that every white guy with an acoustic guitar can play Wonderwall, but there's a whole lot more on this. There's even from the start, there's the where they're previewing Wonderwall and the guitars and I don't know if it's overdubs or what, and they're layers upon layers, because it's obviously not one guitar, but it sounds like it's one guitar on the backing. Yeah,
the kind of the sound, the biggest evolution to Oasis's sound in that sort of period, I think, between Definitely Maybe and obviously What's the Story, Morning Glory, is Noel's songwriting becomes, simple is the wrong word, it becomes more anthemic. You know, everything becomes, how can we basically mechanically manufacture this, or how can we write this song so it's got the most ability to sing along, because this is anthemic and from basically 20 seconds in.
And people do take notice of this, and do put, like, I remember, most people aren't going to remember the show, but it was called Elementary. It was a take on Sherlock Holmes, and
Lucy
the
Liu.
guy from Lucy Liu was Watson, and Johnny Lee Miller, the guy from Hackers, who was married to Angelina Jolie, was Sherlock Holmes. And when he goes back to London, they play Hello by Oasis. This is his return to London theme, and it is the most obvious, but I'm glad it's their song you could put.
Yeah, exactly. It works for what it needs to, which is to go, hello, yes. It's like, hello, this is the new Oasis album. This is what, But it's like, even from like the first chorus of this, which is obviously the and obviously from the point where it goes, it's never going to be the same, because it's just absolutely nails down this sort of anthemic quality of it. It's like, this is like, the sort of, this album is 30 years old now, and it's still remarkably fresh in sort of how easy this is to just sing along. It's like, I've listened to some of this album, I'm going to be hand on heart, I support the other horse in the Britpop battle, but I don't mind Oasis.
You are a Gorillaz fan.
I am a Gorillaz and Blur fan, and I like my artsy sort of, I like my rock and roll a little bit more artsy. But this is an undeniably like magnetic record. It's just like,
yes.
I'm sorry, this is like this. You can argue with this, but it is like a monolith of, we're one track in. This is how superlative we're already getting. It's like, yeah. Hello is fine. It's a great opening track. It sort of does what it needs to do.
Like, I am always happy when this song pops on, because yes, I'm listening to the album. I'm doing, my favorite album thing. It feels so good to, like, be back in this place.
Yeah.
Like, I talk about,
yeah.
like, how much of a sad bastard I am at 3 in the morning with, certain things. But this is happy time. This is the good part of nostalgia, where...
Yeah.
Yes, everything feels
hell yeah.
good.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Hell yeah. I am in the happy place.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it's absolutely like one of those. I hesitate to like go, you can actually listen to this whole way through and not like be in one of those sort of punch the air moods. That said, Roll With It. Roll With It is... And I'm going to say something real controversial here. Roll With It is the weakest track on the album.
Okay.
This is Oasis's horse in the Battle of Britpop, which they lost to Blur's Country House. Blur would obviously then lose the album battle to, obviously this monolith against... Blur's The Great Escape, which is a fine record, but it's not like, it's not like What's the Story, Morning Glory. Sorry.
And, you can listen to, like, our whole thing on when we talk about Be Here Now, but the Blur Oasis thing was kind of manufactured because, I mean, they were both under major record labels.
Oh, completely.
Like, this wasn't like it wasn't like the snobs versus slobs. It was like Northern scum, quote unquote, against, London stuff, but they were both had huge backing and, a relatively decent budget.
Yeah, there was some like really cynical sort of things, Blur's album, for example, single cost like half the price, but there were 2 versions of it, both with the same barcode. So obviously it was like, but you need to buy both of them. So that's double the double the sales, and very cynical things. And obviously, Oasis, obviously were signed at that point to Creation Records, and Blur's management had moved this like a week, like to the same day as Roll With It, and it's like, oh, okay, this is entirely like manufactured. It's completely like for all the front that the Gallaghers, Alex James and Damon Albarn had with this, it's like, yeah, this was absolutely like a calculated label decision.
Yeah, and as the years have come by, like Noel Gallagher shows up on a Gorillaz albums from time to time, so
yeah.
it is not like they are still in this mode. They're just like, yeah, it's whatever. We were fucking kids.
Roll With It is fine. It's like this is like by saying like this is the worst track on the album. It's like this is like the worst track on, like, I don't know, Thriller sort of levels of those ones that were written by that one guy from Toto.
I mean, the calculation of this album, like, I don't want to say it was consciously made like this, but it is like on High Fidelity where Rob is talking to you about, how mixtapes are made. And the first one, you gotta, start off well, and then you gotta keep the momentum with the second one, then you gotta cool it down. And I think that Roll With It maintains the momentum. It's just like, it's like, let's go, let's do this. We're doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a good track. It's got that sort of. This is sort of does feel like the last vestige of the Definitely Maybe sound. It's like the rest of the album doesn't quite sound like this, and it feels like a little bit of a sort of leftover from that sort of thing. Noel describes it as just great mindless, senseless pop music, which is a hell of a turn of phrase.
Yeah, it's just a good rock and roll tune, and it's pretty basic. There's not a lot to talk about in it, but it does maintain the momentum, and it keeps the party going into Wonderwall, which is
the 1-2 punch in the face.
Eternal songs.
Yeah,
and
I forgot, like, and obviously because I've not listened to like Be Here Now as like not Be Here Now. Well, we did this with the bloody Radiohead episode. We kept getting the wrong album. The thing is with What's the Story, I haven't listened to What's the Story, Morning Glory in sequence for a while. I forgot Wonderwall and Don't Look Back in Anger were back to back.
Yep.
Which is just insane.
I guess it's just because they were the two lower paced ones, so you needed the two biggest lowest paced ones back to back. And yeah, so
what can you say
about Wonderwall?
what is left to say about Wonderwall? I would say and this is again high praise. The only song to rival it is Smells Like Teen Spirit. I'm sorry, this is like the level out of anthemic quality. Ironically, it's actually the second most streamed song of the 90s. Wonderwall is the second most streamed song of the 90s. Number one is Teen Spirit, which by like it's just like they're just internal sort of like but it's a very
I wasn't really big
vibe.
on Nirvana at the time. I mean, obviously I've gotten to respect them. It's just like, I don't know. It's just like it was both sides of things that were not me, like especially the music video with the pep rally and just like the ironic and not caring parts of the 90s that would go on to define it. And it was just like, certainly I have a lot of that, but like I would go to like things where I don't want to say the experiences were more real, but it just like I felt it more than this was a defining statement. Like I'm stupid and we are stupid and contagious, and that's like that is an anthem of like the Gen X alt movement. But I moved to bands like Garbage, which were like expressing something, like expressing like an emotion or an experience. Like version 2.0 is just like a 20-something woman being, released into the world thinking she knows everything and she is going to take it over, but that doesn't exactly go to plan.
Yeah, no, indeed. But I mean, yeah, there is British rock music before Wonderwall, and there is British rock music and infinitesimal numbers of parties after Wonderwall. It's just like this. Wonderwall has almost become like mimetic in terms of its quality, because I keep trying to sort of like gently slide Neil Cicierega's one of Neil Cicierega's cut-up albums, sort of like onto this podcast.
And he did two versions of it.
Yeah, and it's like you almost sort of admire the sort of how much of a song Wonderwall is that you can chop it into pieces, or like mash it up with the the Full House theme, or bounce it off, you spin me right round by Dead and Alive, and it still retains some innate quality.
Just put in my little thing of why it's a great song, but two, it is accessible as a great song, which is why so many white guys with acoustic guitars do it, because they can reach that vocal range. Noel and Liam Gallagher have been criticized for their lack of range and how flat they sing, but this, there's a real emotion coming about, and it sounds like it's coming from a normal person, but it's not like in the way a normal person would screw up a song, sing the note or something like that. It's still holding the song together, but it's very clearly not a highly trained, musician who is trained to go beyond all of the ranges and just look at how well I can sing. I am doing all the things. It is just
and I think that's that's the innate quality of Oasis. I think Oasis, because they basically why I think Oasis works as a band, in the way that I don't think, for example, Blur ever captured the United States and abroad generally, is because Oasis are innately accessible. They are sort of it's like, hey, I could do that, sort of sensibilities, they're sort of almost like a sort of holdover from sort of punk music, where it's just like, hey, I can write, I no offense to Noel Gallagher as a songwriter, he's a very good songwriter, but he writes songs that in an ideal world the average bloke could sort of work out, if the right bloke with the right sort of support musicians could work out that idea. It's not, oh, there's loads of states, which is why I think Be Here Now doesn't work as much as an album, because it's like, oh, you can't do accessible when you got 30 flipping guitar overdubs.
And also it's anthemic, but it is empty from a certain standpoint. Todd in the Shadows, Do You Know What I Mean is about nothing. It is just them using a thing they say all the time and making what he calls an I'm Back Bitch single, which is what he calls, which I like. I am ADHD and I will totally go with empty anthemic I'm Back Bitch songs, and those totally get me, just because I don't know, wow, it's big, and it's just it's letting me enjoy the song without trying to force too much on me. And,
that's fair. And,
Go ahead.
I do think that also Wonderwall is where Noel Gallagher's Beatles worship does sort of appear most it's here's the cello, and here's the sort of the backbeat and all the sort of references to like I mean Wonderwall is a reference to both a very strange album by George Harrison called Wonderwall Music, which is done at the height of the Beatles sort of like India phase, and is genuinely like weird and still interesting and still experimental, and that's a Beatles reference. Also, his record label was called Wonderwall. It's like it's as oblique a Beatles reference as you can get.
Yeah, but back at What's the Story, Morning Glory, it was still like subtle as far as the Gallagher brothers could be subtle, which obviously they aren't, but at Be Here Now, it would smash you on the head.
Oh yeah. Yeah. This is like Noel has gone sort of back and forth about who this is about. Supposedly it's about Meg Matthews up until he divorced her, when it's like, it's not. Is it about Noel and Liam, perhaps? Question mark. Is it about his imaginary friendship with Paul McCartney? Nobody knows. And he obviously, what is it about? Well, it's a sort of, this is the beauty of Oasis's songs, is it's about what you think it's about, because that's the sort of when where Liam Gallagher, Noel and Liam's songwriter, particularly Noel's songwriter, is at its best, is when it's sort of like it basically both feels universal and very personal.
Mm-hmm. It is obviously about something, but what it's about changes depending on the person. You can grab on whatever you think it's about and make it your own, and that's kind of the best not only for songs but in fictional narratives. I like stories that do that and can accomplish it without feeling like, oh, you're being lazy, you just didn't want to write a fucking ending.
And then on to the other massive anthemic sort of mid-tempo thing, which is Don't Look Back in Anger, which kind of like, obviously took on a resonance, obviously, after the Manchester bombings in the UK, but it's like, this is sort of like the other flip side, this is like how good Oasis can be as a songwriting unit, I think, because it's like, and this is again like stuffed with oblique references like to the Beatles, starting a revolution from your bed, and etc. And the piano sort of sounds like Imagine, etc.
Yeah, they do the chords from Imagine, another subtle, not subtle Beatles thing.
Yeah, I mean this is kind of like, this wasn't like the highest charting Oasis song. This sort of like, this is like the song for a lot of people. Like, this was like Noel's, this is apparently one of Noel's favourite songs. This is like one of the greatest songs of the 90s, this is apparently the fourth most popular single where the UK charts company did their 60th anniversary in a few years ago. Ironically, it sort of lost out to the greatest Britpop song, according to Rolling Stone, to Pulp's Common People, which is a hell of a song.
Okay.
I love
to listen to
Pulp.
it. It's like, I don't know if it was really that big over here.
Yeah.
But
Jarvis,
I'm from the middle of Nebraska. There are things I did not know in 1995. I apologize.
Yeah, Pulp are great. They are never. They're sort of like the they are
Common
like
People. It's the one William Shatner did a cover of. Got it. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
I know that song. I absolutely know that song. I misheard that. What you thought I thought it.
Yeah, Pulp.
I thought you said like two pop or like some sort of thing when you said Pulp.
Yeah. No, Pulp are great. They are. They never made it big in the US, but they're sort of like, I think they probably perhaps the most obliquely English of all the thing, except when Jarvis Cocker turns up in Wes Anderson films, because why not? Don't Look Back in Anger, I think might be my favourite Oasis song. It's just like, it's the platonic idea of like an Oasis song. It's like,
You know,
Yeah, it's also Noel's. I think this is the first song in which Noel sings lead, which is excellent.
Yes.
He's like, do I do?
Like
yeah.
they, I'm trying to figure out. Like he wanted to sing a song, and it was like do you sing Wonderwall? Do you sing, you know, Don't Look Back in Anger? And it just kind of like, Don't Look Back in Anger. Like he says he would have liked to be on Wonderwall, but it all worked out.
Yeah, I mean the although I still think the ultimate sort of, as I said, ironically, actually, most of my favorite a couple of my favorite Oasis songs are Noel sung Oasis songs. I mean, the perhaps the best one being, aside from this, the Master Plan, which is, I mean, the Master Plan is like a record I think we should talk about, because I think it may be just the best B-sides collection, like, period.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, during this time, and, definitely, maybe, they had these B-sides, and Noel regrets making them all B-sides instead of another album.
Yeah.
Because, like, by the time he got to Be Here Now and Standing on the Shoulders of Giants, he didn't have songs to make B-sides, so there would be 4 or 5 of them per single, and then by the time you got to Standing on the Shoulders of Giants, there were maybe another song on there, hopefully, but like in the same session he would hammer out like 3 or 4 other songs that weren't used because they didn't fit anywhere, and most of them are fucking brilliant. Like, I didn't even, until about like 10 years ago, I didn't even know Round Our Way, for whatever reason. And Round Our Way is like a 9 out of 10, like, absolutely fantastic song. And I get why it wasn't on What's the Story, Morning Glory, because it doesn't fit anywhere. Like, Morning Glory is a incredibly well-paced album, and it feels like everything is placed perfect. And if you put this big, like, Beatles Everyday Life kind of tune into it probably disrupts the flow. But, like, Round Our Way didn't even make the Master Plan, and like, they have a 9 out of 10 that just didn't make any of their albums. Like, it made the Liam-less MTV Unplugged, where Liam taunts Noel. They have the unplugged version on the 3-disc set, but like it's still there. It's still recognized. It was on the Knebworth documentary that I got watched on Paramount Plus, but like, it's not. You have that great of a song, and it's barely a presence in Oasis, and that tells you where they are.
Yeah. I mean, the only other band that I could talk to who were, like, on this sort of a streak, ironically at about the same time, and ironically, which we'll talk about in, like, a couple of weeks' time when we get to it, is the Smashing Pumpkins. It's like, when, like, oh, here's a double album. By the way, here's, like, an extra, like, 2 discs worth of material on The Aeroplane Looks Left, Flies Right, which is like, this is as good as the rest of the record. It's like, this is almost embarrassment of riches sort of era. I mean, 5 of the songs on the Master Plan are like, probably as good as any of the material on this, definitely. But
absolutely,
we'll get back to But Don't Look Back in Anger is a great song, and it's fantastic. It's
and it's another one where it can be about one thing. It can be about a breakup, but it can also be about the Manchester bombings. It can be you can attach this to a lot of things, and it's just about looking forward, and that there's not a lot in looking behind you and dwelling on it, which is a big problem for me because I'm ADHD. I will dwell on everything, including that one time when I was about 10, when I tapped on somebody's shoulder thinking it was my dad at a mall, and it turned around and it was this big angry Asian guy, and then I got extremely frightened, and then there's my dad, like, behind me,
Mm.
I still, my brain cannot let me let go of, like, why did you think that was your dad? So,
Yeah. But
but,
I do think this has got the best, like, perhaps. I think this has also got like Liam's best, like Noel's best, like the best Oasis line, which is just,
mhm,
please don't put your hands in the light. Please don't put your life in the hands of a rock and roll band who'll throw it all away. It's like,
yeah.
that's just like, you could honestly use that as like the introduction to like a huge documentary about Oasis. That is
Mhm.
Oasis.
And there are a lot of other great
Don't.
lines.
Why would you trust us?
Yeah, there are a lot of other great lines too, but they kind of stole them. Like that, you said the brains I had went to my head is from
Yeah.
somebody else. I can't remember who, but
Yeah.
and
Yeah. It's a
Revolution
Lennon.
from
It's
my
a
bed
Lennon thing,
is
I think.
like Beatles stuff, and
The bed-ins. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
But no, it's anthemic and rightfully so. And then we get Hey Now, which is I'm trying
like
to remember Hey Now.
I thought that I heard someone say now. There's no time. This, yeah. I mean, I've got it.
Yeah.
I got it. I have this album pretty much
Yeah.
memorized. I mean,
Yeah.
it is a good song. It is like, the
Yeah.
7 out of 10 of the album, I might say. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you'll probably have a lot more 7 out of 10s on this thing, but
Oh no, like
uh,
this is most of these are 8s or 9s.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, Helen. I'm not. I cannot. I can but go. This is a fantastic record. This is
Mhm.
like. This is fantastic. There is like. This is an album on the opposite side of like the Britpop divide. And I can go. This is a fantastic record. This has lasted 30 years. With minimal wear and tear.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think it's just like the third song with like this same kind of melancholy,
Hmm.
and the other two
Yeah.
were all timers, and then you have this, and it's just like this is kind of a like it's a come down in many ways. It's just like I don't know if it's just trying to balance the mood or what. I mean, like
Yeah.
it's put here, it's between like the excerpt of the Swamp Song and um, you know,
Hmm. Two of the
and
biggest songs of the 90s.
yeah, one of the biggest songs of the 90s. And it's just another song like there's no time for running away. It's kind of the same as Don't Look Back or like Don't Go Backwards. It's
Yeah.
there's no
And it's sort of
time. You
that
just got to
Lennon.
keep
Yeah.
going. You just got to keep going. You can't dwell on this. It's just more
Lennon
rolling with it.
psychedelia. Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
which is it's probably just like the same intent you know literally in the album. We're going.
We're
The song's
rolling.
just got to keep going. If I'm going to be
Yeah.
like super cheesy album analysis, like this is all forward motion.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah. It's a very moment. It's an album that basically has one gear, and that is forward. Yeah. Well, 2 or 3 gears, but yeah. Yeah. Hey Now is fine. It's a good break between the Swamp Song and obviously the two of the biggest songs of the 90s, as I said a moment ago. The Swamp Song is fine. It's an interlude.
It's an interlude. You can hear the full version on Master Plan, but
Yep.
it is kind of this. Yes, we are a rock and roll band. You are here listening to
Yeah.
rock and roll. You will have more like
Rock.
rock and roll in your rock and roll album. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of the weird thing about What's the Story, Morning Glory is you have all these songs about like melancholy and just dwelling in certain uh,
Yeah.
parts of melancholy and trying to get out of it. And
Mm.
like that, if you don't put the Swamp Song on, there's some might say and Cast No Shadow, and some might say is like that these things that are you're supposed to
Yeah.
be cheering me up aren't really doing the job for me because you don't understand what I'm going through, and Cast No Shadow is like you don't feel like you exist. So you
Yeah.
have to put like some rock thing that is this is rock and roll in the middle of it. And I think that's what the Swamp Song does, because it's just them jamming out. It used to be called The Jam, but according
Yep.
to the liner notes here, and Noel Gallagher, that once Paul Weller got on it, they had to change the title because they don't want to Paul Weller's playing The Jam, because The Jam is a band, and oh ho ho musical reference.
Yeah, Paul Weller, by the way, plays both the guitar and the harmonica on both parts of the Swamp Song, and it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit of it's a little bit of like a jam, and it's a nice like ear cleaner between the sort of the two, because almost just a sequence in like 2 acts and then like a coda, and this is sort of like the I'm going to make a really strange comparison here. You know how Philip Glass has this thing in... This is how my brain works. Like, Philip Glass has these things in a lot of his operas called knee plays, and essentially these knee plays act as like little breaks between Philip Glass doing that sort of arpeggiated sort of madness all the time, and they are probably the most famous one is Einstein on the Beach, which has this one series of numbers and then talking about sailboats, and we're getting off topic, but this is sort of like this is how I sort of see it. It's almost like a break, a sort of a changing of the scenery between Act 1 of What's the Story Morning Glory and Act 2, which is the big guitar time at sort of half of the album.
Yeah,
mostly.
It's the Brit alt rock version of like when Fish or any of those other like jam bands like do a solo.
Yeah. And now the next song will begin, and the next song is Some Might Say, which is apparently the track they had the biggest problem with in the studio, because Noel demoed it, and essentially the demo was like faster, and Noel basically woke up every minute, like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, listen to the obviously Noel and Morris were drunk, if this wasn't like really obvious. Noel basically woke up the rest of the band going, we're re-recording it, and like obviously they're sleep deprived, Noel's drunk, Morris, who's obviously doing the whole production thing, is also drunk, and basically the whole thing speeds up, and unfortunately, because Liam's singing is really good, we gotta use this take.
So they have to spend the most time slowing it down and matching.
And sorting the mistakes on it, because apparently there's just the mess. The whole band just speed up on the first chord, and Morris is sitting there remixing it, so it actually just hide the massive mistake in it, which is actually on the record. If you listen closely, you can hear the band just go for about 3 or 4 beats, just go completely play it wrong. It's great. It's it's great. It's it kind of Noel describes it as the archetypal Oasis song, and Acquiesce, which is the B-side, kind of really is one of Noel's favourite songs, and
for good reason.
This is great. It's great. Again, it becomes that sort of it sort of launches the second half of the record very well, I think.
Yeah. My only thing is, it is built on its lyrics, which are just I don't know. Noel says in the liner notes, it's about how poor people only have God, and Noel is a famous atheist, but he's sometimes that's all you've got, and from my reading of it, it's just all of these people trying to cheer you up don't have any point of reference for what this person is going through, and it's things will be brighter, but you believe in heaven, and then you go to tell to the man who lives in hell, and stuff like that, and it's it's very. I'm trying to figure out. It's just very much a song about like not having perspective. If I want to like boil it down, it's just like what people will tell to you that they don't understand, and all of this, and this is just a big up to all of this, is I don't really pay attention to it because the opening sounds like the Georgia Satellites' Keep Your Hands to Yourself, which is a Southern rock American song, and it's just one of the throwaway ones. And it, like, and the starting guitar riff is very similar, and instead of like, this very thoughtful stuff, it's like, I got a little change in my pocket going jing-a-lang-a-lang. And I am literally doing that about the same as it sounds like. So that tells you like what it hits the ADHD part of my brain, and it's just like it disconnects from like whatever the song means, and I have to go into music analysis. So I just have to give this song a pass because my brain won't let it like engage with the song as is.
Yeah. I mean, surprisingly enough, there's sort of the chorus, which obviously some might say we will find a brighter day, kind of like takes on a whole new relevance, because obviously, like, one, there's a huge banner with this in the Etihad, the Gallagher's beloved Manchester City. I don't know what happened last season, guys, but I'm pretty sure it was something to do with Oasis reforming, and I'll leave it at that. And sort of like, this is also like perhaps the first and like only time like Oasis really go into social commentary, which is like, the idea of obviously, because some might say as a single comes out like days before the local elections. It's very British, sort of like cul-de-sac we're going down here. Which is British cul-de-sac. Basically, some might say gets, released about a week before the Tories get absolutely hammered. This is obviously John Major's government of 1995. Get absolutely hammered in the local elections, and there's sort of like, the idea that sort of, nearly a decade and a half of Conservative rule is coming to an end, and, that whole thing that obviously then, Creation Records leaped on and went, hey, political rock and roll is political again, and it's like they got Union Jack guitars and it's cool to be British again, rather than all this sort of stuff. And sort of finally, probably this is Tony Carroll's last appearance as a member of Oasis.
Yeah, it's weird that there's pacing issues, and the drummer that they apparently had pacing issues with is on this song. I mean, this is not his fault, obviously not. No, but no. It is a funny coincidence. And I just want to say on one last note of it, that like there are times when you hear like the work going into. Like, I can hear Tony McCarroll's drummer thinking about what he is doing on Definitely Maybe, and that is the biggest problem, is you can hear him working, you can hear the thinking on the drum tracks, which is what you don't want to hear. You don't want to... Everything, like, has to be effortless, except for the stuff you don't want to look at as effortless, but, like, just keeping the beat shouldn't sound like it is work, which is what it sounds like on Definitely Maybe.
Yeah.
So that's one part at me who really sucks. I never practiced. I can't keep 4/4 time. I suck. I absolutely suck. But you can still hear things from what you have learned in the brief time that I tried to be this and couldn't.
Yeah, but you weren't drummer for Oasis, so I mean that's like, yeah.
I wasn't a drummer for Oasis. I was a percussionist for a grade school band who was reduced to playing the woodblock and the triangle.
Fair.
That is where they send you in. Okay, we want your parents to see you at the concert, and they want you to be doing something, but we don't want you to screw up the song.
Yes, we gave you the triangle.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah. But yeah, so I mean that is it's a fine song. This is sort of like again where it's sort of the middle. This is like sort of obviously leading in the second half. Cast No Shadow, which is about Richard Ashcroft of the Verve, that guy who most people are going to probably remember from walking down the street during British Sweet Symphony and looking like an asshole.
And just like ramming into people and like everybody turning around. What the fuck is the deal with this guy?
Yes,
and
he does other music.
yeah. It is. I love this song. It might be like the one that hit me most personally because like you can really attach to it as somebody who like tries really hard but doesn't seem to exist. Like, there's just that feeling that you don't leave a mark. You don't have a group of friends. You don't, do much, and you don't leave an impression. And like you don't exist so much you cast no shadow. And that was how I was feeling in middle school and high school. Like, even though I was this crazy hyped up non-diagnosed ADHD kid who was trying for attention and doing stupid things like all the Austin Powers impersonations and just whatever would get me attention, but I still really didn't exist. I was there, and I wasn't like great at anything. I was just good enough for people to have expectations, but those expectations weren't met, so dump this kid in a bin. And like Cast No Shadow really puts a light on that, even if it does cast no shadow. LOL. Ha ha ha.
It's unusually gentle for Oasis. Don't get me wrong. I think Noel Gallagher, the band are very good at writing ballads, but this is like actually like very, very obviously again quite Beatles-esque. But it's like calling Oasis Beatles-esque is like calling Metallica loud. It's like that kind of goes with the territory. But it's a very gentle song, and it's like there's some falsetto in it, and it's that sort of very lush sort of this would obviously I could imagine like Oasis doing the sort of second stage sort of thing for this and having a little stage out the front with just an acoustic guitar and a couple of chairs. It's like that's the sort of setting for this, so to speak.
Yeah. And like it is probably the most, I want to say, to the point, I guess, is if I would, it's the most you can like get something fully emotionally out of this. Like you can't understand yourself, you can't understand anything around you, and you just don't fit. Like, I have never fit in anything in the world. Like, I do not fit anywhere, and that's a thing I have had to learn to deal with. Even if you hear me and like, oh, this guy has a nice voice, he seems very nice, and like, I guess that's good for the parents of the women I was trying to date and the girls, but for the girls themselves, like, they could do better, and absolutely they could do better.
And then we get to She's Electric, which is She's Electric doesn't like, again, apparently it's another one of the tracks they kind of like were thinking about for Definitely Maybe, and it's like, I don't think this would have worked with like Tony Cowell's drumming. It's like, oh god, what is going on? This has got that sort of very very sort of pub piano sort of sound of it.
It is very Beatles, I want to say, Sgt. Pepper, like weird little stories. And it's, just dating a girl and meeting the family, and, the family's extremely weird, and you're just some guy, and you're, hello, I'm the guy dating this girl here.
Yes.
And then you meet the family, and they're all weird.
Yeah. But it's also like this is where the Beatles worship is like particularly obvious, because that's like
Yeah.
ironically you mentioned Sgt. Pepper because it's like that is like, hi, yeah, that sounds remarkably like with a little help from my friends, that
Yes.
you know, right at the end when it goes into the outro, like, can I be electric? And it's like, you know,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, it's like, yeah, hi guys. I like She's Electric. It is very much like, hey, these guys can be really playful, and you know, there's a sense of, you know, not all of their songs are like great. You know, it's a sort of like, I can only describe this as sort of like almost a smutty sort of postcard back from like, you know, the sort of the Gallagher boys. It's like, yeah,
or you know, it's sort of, you know, making fun of like the Americana New York Post covers or something like that, and it's just like an Americana family that's like really weird, and it's just like, you know, their cousin's over there like pregnant and whatever else, and
nothing to do with me.
That's got nothing to do with me, and like there's just like cousins all over the place, and
oh god, yeah,
you know, I don't know, maybe the uncles have like serial killer face or something, I don't know, but it's just like there is something off about this family from the moment you see them, and but you know, but there is like an energy to this weirdness, but you're just, you know, this guy from Manchester or whatever else, and you're just a bloke. You're just a bloke, and you want to like cash into this like energy of weirdness.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, you know, it's very. It's ironic because obviously, like, one of Oasis's like tracks obviously became like obviously the soundtrack for a sitcom, which I think was Half a World Away for the royal family. But you know, it's kind of like, you know, it's very much the sort of like, you could imagine this as like a shortened version of this as like a sitcom theme or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's charming. The problem is it's parked right in front of yeah.
Champagne. Well, the second Swamp Song, which is like, you know, oh wait, not the Swamp Song, but Morning Glory, and then it's like the finale of essentially the finale of the album, which just steals everything. It's just like, okay,
oh god,
we are for real, for reals now. Like we're like Morning Glory is like the hard, you know, fast rock, and this is you know, how like everybody talks about how, you know, Oasis is the people who created the noise. This is the noise they're talking about.
Yeah, it's the scale of because Morning Glory starts with a bloody helicopter, and it's like, right, okay, yeah, fantastic, you know, you know, this is like ironically enough, not bitches, hey bitch, you know, you know, the hey,
I'm back, bitches,
we're back
single.
It's like, we are here, hello, we are, you know, it's huge sound. It's like, it's just, you know, jing jing jing, you know, it's like the whole, this is like almost the entire record's been building to this sort of like arrival.
It's like if Apocalypse Now was like, wasn't by the Doors, it was just by some really upbeat band, and they're trying to follow along with this, and try editing that, but it's just like, it is the Kilgore part of Apocalypse Now, where you know, they put, it's the helicopter, and they're dropping bombs on schools, but they're still being really cheery about it, and it's just like, we're your gods now.
Yeah, that just that huge, that sort of like, and you know, you get the helicopter sound, you get the sort of like, you know, just like, oh god, this is absolutely
and
ridiculous.
It's just like, the jam is coming. This is the jam.
This is just like the scale. This is the scale of it does have that sort of like Apocalypse Now, helicopters coming out of the sun, sort of like, oh god. just massive sort of like, fucking speakers hanging off the bottom of, the choppers, and then the sort of, which is ironically a visual image that Oasis would sort of lean into for the next record, Be Here Now, but like, it's just big. It's big, and surprisingly enough, it's about
like they would
cocaine.
use a literal helicopter in, you know what I mean, but the sound would be bigger. It's an airplane. It's not just a helicopter. It's an airplane now. We're huge. We're that big.
Yeah, and surprising no one due to this sort of colossalness of size, it's about cocaine.
It is about drugs, and it in the liner notes it says they would be in like 6 days. They'd be on the drugs, and this would be the 7th day where they have to recover. And it's a very cynical song about drugs, as Noel would say.
Yeah,
but,
it's a very, very... Yeah.
All your dreams are made when you're chained to the mirror and the razor blade. And that is, again, more Apocalypse Now imagery, the slug going along the edge of a razor blade. But, like, I have no doubt Noel Gallagher is a huge Apocalypse Now fan.
Oh, yeah.
Because even in his music video commentary, like, all these directors think they're making Apocalypse Now, but they're just making fucking nonsense.
Yeah. This is also like, you can sort of tell, like, there's a lot of drugs going on, and the other sort of thing is this is where actually the album title gets name dropped. What's the Story? Morning Glory is so this is where Melissa Lim sort of most notably sort of impacts the album. Melissa Lim was, as obviously, if you go and listen to the long sort of video that on YouTube about that, obviously, about the sort of the weird Noel's sort of lost weekend sort of thing. Then obviously Melissa Lim is, a friend of Noel who sort of like basically got him back on his feet, and this is how she answered the phone as sort of What's the Story, Morning Glory, and that's how we get the title.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's the title. We dropped the title 9 tracks in. Colossal. I mean, it's just big. It's big, and it's dumb, and it's sort of like, it's a sort of the Oasis machine sort of touching down and going, right, beat that.
Beat that, absolutely. Like, we did this album, we know they are all bangers, and here is the biggest banger of them all, even if it's not the greatest. But like,
great song.
Like Noel says, like, this What's the Story, Morning Glory is what it's about to be a band, I guess, is like the big theme, which you can pick up on, you might not pick up on. But this is like the day when they are recovering from their drug use.
The Morning Glory,
Okay, yeah.
It's the sort of, hey, it's like the clean day. Oh god, we got to get up and actually pretty productive. And oh god, it's I mean, great, as I said, great record. You get another sort of chunk of the Swamp Song, and then you get one of the best. You get one of the best songs ever written.
To like calm it down a little bit. Noel says he wishes he had a story for the helicopter and the boats and all of this stuff, but he doesn't. There's not like a narrative running underneath this, like The Wall or something that you need to pay attention to.
No.
Apparently they got the drums from a Glastonbury performance, and so there's some like, and they, that's why there's some tuning and some extra stuff going on, because they're mixing it with different stuff, and obviously they're like bringing down the mood a little bit, but they're still jamming. It's a transition, which is what is probably best about the Most Unspoken Thing is just because it moves quickly between everything else, and I don't want to say seamlessly, but it, like, the change in moods works, and I think these inserts work because it's, kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, no, okay.
Like there is definitely from, you know, doing the Morning Glory is when you're in the middle of a performance, and then we get to Champagne Supernova, which is kind of like what's left over after the after party is done.
Yeah. The sort of 5 o'clock in the morning, sort of like, you know, the after. I think it's like, and holy shit, Champagne Supernova is just.
Yeah, I call Champagne Supernova the best song of the album. Like, Cast No Shadow might be the most personal, but like I can. Like, every time I listen to Champagne Supernova, I have to listen to the whole thing. Like, I am annoyed by the radio edit, where I can tell pops in, and, like, it cuts out, like, 2 or 3 minutes. And it's just like, no. The mood is the point. You have to play the whole 7 minutes of this, god damn it.
Yeah, no, totally. It's just... Yeah, it's one of... It's Champagne fucking Supernova.
It's you are left, you know, after the day is done with all of your thoughts, and, you know, they're not... I mean, I've never been on drugs like he's been on drugs.
No.
And, like, where were you when we were getting high, and, like, just staring at, you know, somebody walking down the hall faster than a cannonball.
Yeah.
And it's just like, someday this is going to end, and it's going to end in an explosion. Like, you're just thinking about, like, okay, we're doing all of this stuff and it's great, but, like, this can't last forever.
Yeah. As Oasis well knows, sort of like, you know, yeah, it's like, you know, the this takes on a whole new salience, obviously, with the new tour, with obviously the tour and the reunion, because it's like, yeah, it did end. It ended for nearly, you know, 15 years.
Yes, like it.
Yeah.
It exploded. Like, maybe not in a Champagne Supernova in the sky, but it exploded with lots
bits of guitar, if I remember correctly.
Lots of yelling random swear words in, like, a northern Manchurian accent.
Yeah, and somebody getting a guitar smashed over their head. But it's like, you know, you cannot take away from this. This is like, you know, this is the... And again, to draw back to the Beatles, this is sort of like, you know, the end. Is like, you know, obviously the, you know, the end, but also this is like, you know, a day in the life. This is like, you know, this takes you places, you know. It's like, you know, the sort of, you know, you get almost like you know, a strange sort of stream of particularly with these slowly walking down the halls faster than the cat. It's like, what the hell does that mean? I think there's a brilliant quote from Noel, from Noel actually said, you know, as I said, he said, and I said, you know, obviously Noel asked him what it bloody means. I don't fucking know, but you telling me when you got 60,000 people singing it, they don't know what it means. It means something different to every one of them. It's like it, and that's the sort of the beauty of Oasis as a band. It's like they caught, you know, you could say what you like about, you know, oh it's all retrospective, or it's all sort of, you know, a sensibility of you know, it's a grab bag of sort of Manchester, late 80s Manchester, you know, the 70s sort of, you know, mod rock sort of stuff like the Jam and the Beatles, and sort of, you know, to a certain extent, obviously, you know, other 70s glam band, you know, yeah, but it you know, or what does it mean? It means whatever you want it to mean, you know. And it's sort of prosaic to go, oh well, you know, it's very easy. And obviously, you know, loads of and obviously people massively underrated this record. It's like, and then it sold 22 million copies.
Yeah. In the liner notes, Noel just said it's oddly enough a punk influence, just because it is like all of these punk bands who are going to change the world, and they changed jack shit. And it's about just, like, ruminating on that. And just sitting here, and it's like the world was supposed to change and nothing changed. And there was nothing done for me, and I'm just here. I am,
Yeah.
just here getting high, and, it's not a great time. I'm just kind of by myself, and, feeling like someday all of it is going to collapse. And that is, like, his interpretation. Like,
Yeah.
and he says, like, when I'm in a bad mood, being caught beneath a landslide is like being suffocated.
Yeah.
So,
It's like,
there's that.
Yeah. Yeah. This is like, as I said, I this is the perfect ending to the record. It can go in no other direction than just going out on absolute maximalism.
And it's like, it's even perfect down to, like, okay, the drums when they leave the song are perfect, and it's just like, and then the guitar hangs on a little longer, and then there's the last riff, and then there's just a little bit of silence, and whatever background noise there that's still left. And that's kind of like the perfect ending you want to an album. It's just like, that's it, it's gone.
There it went,
and it's over. Like, it's over, go home.
So this did incredibly.
Yeah, absolutely.
like this obviously, to the extent that it basically kind of ended with the Knebworth, which is just like the full stop at the end of Britpop, which is basically 125,000 people a night, massive, the largest concerts at that point held on UK soil, the largest demand ever for a British concert, huge. That you can go, and this is the problem. Obviously, as we discussed with B here now, is how much bigger can you get than that?
Yeah, well, you can, and then Robbie Williams tops it at Knebworth, which they show in Better Man, the movie. The Robbie Williams is very special to me. Like, I don't know, for whatever reason, when I'm not feeling like the music at the time, there is a Northern English singer or band that fills the room for me, and that's what Robbie Williams did. Like,
it's
just like, okay, I like this pop music, but I don't like whatever Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, Britney Spears, and eventually I got used over myself as a 18-year-old kid, and trying to be cool when I've never been cool in my life, and I found the joy of that. But then I was just like, oh, all of this is so shit. I want something real or something more. And there's Robbie Williams who releases Millennium, which is his biggest thing in America, which is like, it's a happy song about us like self-destructing at the end of the millennium. But that I'm getting off track too, but there was always a Northern England talent for me to listen to when there's no music to listen to, apparently.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's the sort of thing, and ironically, Oasis are one of the Oasis is friends with Williams. I can't remember which one.
They had a thing with them that lasted for 20 years. I think they've gotten better as like both parties got off the drugs and then realized like in the movie, like Robbie Williams was in his prime, was so out of it that like his wife divorced him and married Liam Gallagher, who if that tells you how out of hand his drug habit was, I don't know what does. Like Liam Gallagher, going from Robbie Williams to Liam Gallagher at that time is like you're playing that minefield game on your Minesweeper, and you're going from like the hardest difficulty to just hard. Like, it's easier, but there's still, there's still something that's going to blow up on you. But I guess,
yeah.
It's
just, it's the sort of thing, and that's the sort of the downside of being here now. Is sort of, where do you go from being a 22 times platinum, XYZ, basically the biggest album of the 90s in terms of British music. Where do you go? And if you go and listen to our Be Here Now episode, you can find out where it went. Yeah.
And What's the Story, Morning Glory only went 4 times platinum, but that was enough for like them to be the biggest band officially. If they are in biggest band in America, now they're the biggest band in the world for one whole year, and that was like 1995, somewhere in 1995 to 1996, like the middle, because this came out like late spring and then just in time for the early summer, so like mid 1995 to 1996, and that's just all Oasis is the biggest band in the world. And for Britain, they would feel like that for a lot longer, but then it kind of like Be Here Now came out, and it did fine numbers, but then it didn't really catch on, and then the Gallagher brothers became just sort of a punchline.
Yeah, a sort of mobile Punch and Judy chaos, sort of like sideshow to the actual music, where it's like, and what are the Gallaghers doing this week? Oh, they're fighting photographers, or throwing punches at each other, or somebody said something they shouldn't have. And that's the thing, they basically, by about the sort of 2000s, they basically become like almost a parody of themselves. And the records remain okay, but I would say it never quite returns to the colossal popularity of the first 2 albums, except now, because now they are bigger than ever.
Because and I will say, I mean, regardless of quality, like they only sold a few 100,000 copies on the first week of Standing on the Shoulder of Giants, which is not bad for any other band, but when you're the biggest band in the world, that's just kind of like funk. But Standing on the Shoulders of Giants is a good album, even if Noel will admit he's kind of ran out of inspiration at that point. Like, it is certainly better than the couple of albums that followed. Like, Don't Believe the Truth is not great, and the other one I'm not remembering at the moment. But their last album was really good. It was weirdly apocalyptic themed, but although the band was about to explode, so right after the band broke up, I know what's going on here. But Dig Out Your Soul is, I would call like a B plus, maybe on a good day I'd bump it up to A minus album. There's just only one song I don't like, Get Off Your High Horse, which it's just like, it's the worst part of Liam's vocals. But that, if you want like a good Oasis that they still have it in them before they break up, that's the album I would go for.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's representative of them. As I said, they are back and bigger than ever. So whether or not it sort of translates to new music, God knows. It's like it's known only to them, and fair enough.
Yeah, it is far away from, and as we said, they had so many like fire B-side singles. They had the Master Plan, so we had you can get the Master Plan by itself, or you can just on Definitely Maybe and What's the Story, Morning Glory, if you buy like the 3-disc sets, they will have the B-sides, which are Master Plan songs, like Talk Tonight, which is a good one. Acquiesce is a great one. Head Shrinker's good. Rockin' Chair, and Underneath the Sky, and there are things that didn't even make the Master Plan, Step Out is a pretty decent song, although when it was on the Familiar to Millions album, that was infamously the band was a train wreck, and they had to mix everything from different nights and different concerts to make the album coherent, because they're two nights they had to record for that specific concert were just so disruptive and so like venomous. Like Liam is Noel is high on like
something.
No. It's specific things. It's like stuff that's supposed to bring him down, and Liam is all on the stuff that's going to make him angry and energetic. So basically,
Not
Liam is just in his own head, just saying the first thing that comes to his mind whenever and forgetting lyrics and whatever else, and just clearly on some shit. And Noel can't stop him. And but even then there's the song "Step Out," which is a good little anthem for live concerts, which is why it's on the live album and not anywhere else. Even though he says things like, "You're my bitch, come on, get with me tonight." It's just like, that's really that really is gonna work, Liam.
The other reason that Step Out is only played live is because it actually got removed from What's the Story Morning Glory because it liberally sort of interpolates at least one Stevie Wonder song. So to avoid paying 500,000 quid to Stevie Wonder, they removed the song from the album.
Of course. Yeah, that's
what it does. Yeah, that'll do. But this is the thing, we're sort of, we're obviously talking about Oasis like, half a decade after they released this. I think the Knebworth album is far more representative of a band at the imperial height of their powers. Mm-hmm. This is what you gesture at and you go, that is a band at the summit of like what it is possible to be as a rock and roll band.
And as I've said, go look up the Oasis song, Round Our Way. It is like the classic song you never knew existed from Oasis. Unless you're British, then you probably heard it like half a dozen times. But definitely check that out.
Definitely check that out. Anyway, you will notice that today is the 2nd of October, and we have another episode in a few hours because this is our double stack where we're talking about if you want to join us in about 12 hours we will be talking about another album released on the 2nd of October 5 years later, which is Radiohead's Kid A, which will be my champion in this sort of interesting battle. But I think I have to concede at this point. It's like, this is like, they're both great records. Kid A sort of basically is a horrifying vision of what's to come, and this is just a really good time. Mostly.
It's you like Kid A. It is a 5-star, one of your defining stuff, and this is my 5-star. This is my defining stuff, and that's like you can't lose with either album unless you're of a certain attitude. Either you use the word pretentious too much to describe things you don't understand, or you do
You're Liam.
Like you take the piss on your cover of Wonderwall to mock how stupid it is, which Radiohead did do, and I did find that song on Napster.
Yes, there we are. But this is the thing. This is why we like doing the anniversary episodes, because it's like, hey, we get to talk about albums that like are too big for the podcast normally.
Yes.
It's like these are big records. This has been us talking about What's the Story Morning Glory? What's the Story Morning Glory? And we've taken about 45 minutes less than what's Be Here Now, because Be Here Now was like a huge. I still think it's our longest episode to date.
Yeah, it is. Story after story of just what the fuck are these people doing?
Yeah. And again, if you want to go and listen to that, that is going to be linked below, because hey, we like we like talking about Oasis. We might come back at some point and talk about some more Oasis. I don't know.
I definitely have more to say, even if they don't have more to say, because it's like even in the movie Supersonic, it kind of trails off after Be Here Now. Like every story does. Like there are other people who picked up the slack and kind of found things, and there's like documentaries you can watch, but they don't really talk about everything after that, because I think Noel was uninspired, and everything. The writing was starting to be on the wall that, like, the time this is starting to be over is almost now.
Yeah, it's sort of like, as I said, I think we said we're not going to really get the definitive Oasis documentary from anything related to Oasis, and anything where, a documentary that is warts and all Oasis will never take part in. So it's like, it's sort of a catch-22. But anyway, there's a lot of... There's a lot to Oasis, and we will definitely come back at some point and talk about one of the albums that Oasis probably won't. So, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, we've got our usual social media. If you do want to sort of, requisition an episode, because we do episodes for hire, so to speak.
Or if you just want to know what's the story, Morning Glory.
Yes, indeed. You can go to our Patreon, which is Thom and the patreon.com/the Thom and Joe Show. We can still be found on Twitter at NotSoFinalProd. I've been Thom.
I've been Joe. And it's been good to be back.
It's been good to be back. We'll see you next episode. See you later.
My wife said she would leave me if I wouldn't stop singing Wonderwall. I said maybe.